You know what they should do? I mean, Microsoft, Sony, Valve, they would fight it tooth and nail. But if you really wanted to help the game industry, the best way to do that would be to nationalize it. I mean, think about it. If you were to nationalize the gaming industry, you know how much money the government would be raking in revenue-wise? And mind you, revenue is not an important issue if everything was nationalized anyway. Everyone talks about inflation and things like that, but in reality, inflation only affects rich people. It only affects rich people because then when they go to use the dollar outside of the US, it suddenly isn't as powerful as it once was. So essentially, unless you are a capital holder, inflation doesn't bother you either which way. It doesn't affect you when you go to the grocery store or when you go to wherever. You can say it minimally affects you because we get, the U.S. gets a lot of their oil from out of the oceans and overseas and things like that. But essentially, inflation does not affect the normal person. It affects the big markets, which in turn they place the burden upon you, the working class. They place the burden upon you by raising prices by saying, "Oh, well, we have to raise prices because of inflation." No, you don't really need to. You're getting it at pennies a day, and then you're not making quite as much money as you would like. That's the problem with the 1%. They're not satisfied with being millionaires. They want to be billionaires. And that's how inflation affects them. Because since they can't be billionaires, they have to settle for millionaires and, get slightly smaller yachts. So if they were to nationalize it, not only would it completely erase any kind of deficit imaginable, but on top of that, you would get better gaming. You would get better quality because, the government would have every incentive to provide good gaming because they want to not only boost morale in the people, but they would, just throw money at people that just came out of art school or tech school or whatever. People that really just want to make a good game. They're not in it for the money. And then you would get a better quality and more quantity of the better quality. Now, I'm sure some people are going to come comment on my video and say that that's complete bullshit. But let's face it, if you want to really get rid of the deficit, that would be the way to do it. If you want better gaming, that would be the way to do it. If you at least want cheaper gaming, where, it's at least less expensive and less tedious, there's no DLC or any of that shit, you need to nationalize gaming. What gets me, I guess I can kind of say that inflation affects the state itself, but that's more so for leverage. In other words, if the U.S. will want to compare to China or Russia or Iran or wherever in the world, then, it would be good to keep inflation down as so to have leverage against other nations. But in reality, leverage as far as a nationalized economy is concerned is not as quite as dire as a private capitalism that also has to worry about inflation. That's all I'm saying. Nationalism not only relieves the working class, it also relieves the stresses of the state itself, and it relieves the burden of having to not only carry all this weight behind it, but also the burden of having to deal with all the bullshit in between of private capitalism. Now, mind you, that's not communism. Anyone that comes here suggesting that that is, or that I'm just condoning that because I'm some kind of soft communist or something, is, completely mistaken. But I'm just saying that would be the way to go. That would be the efficient way to go. And then after that, you can, argue about transitioning into full-fledged communism, whether or not you want to. If that's your issue, be my guest. But I'm just saying that nationalism is the proper way to conduct a business. It's the proper way to conduct an economy. This is coming from somebody that actually studied economics and actually wrote for many articles involving economy. And I was voted one of the best ghostwriter economists that ever existed in European magazines. So, I think I know what I'm talking about here. Now, I'm not saying it would solve all problems, that we would suddenly live in a paradise, and I'm not saying that it would end the class war. I'm not saying that there still wouldn't be a rich elite. I'm just saying it would be better. And if you ask me, that's worth doing in and of itself. Because I'm a realist. I know I'm not going to wake up tomorrow, ta-da, it's communism, everybody owns the means of production equally. We all have equal say. We all have equal merit. We all have equal rights. And, we all are treated with the dignity and respect we deserve. I'm not saying that, and, I don't want to insult anybody, but it would be foolish to think that you could have that in your lifetime, let alone, tomorrow. So, that's all I'm saying here, is that nationalization is the way to go. It would make things better for everybody. It would release all these burdens. And, I just can't see anything wrong with it. So, I guess that's it, really, is that, I don't think we need to have, like, protests in this normal sense. I don't think we need to, go out there and demand that these bastards pay. I mean, it would be nice. It'd be nice to make them pay, but that's probably not very practical. They're not going to go to jail for this shit. And while it would feel good to see them get taxed out of the fucking asshole and watch them squirm like the worms that they are, I just think it would be better off if the government wiped their hands with it and said, you know what, fuck this, we're just going to nationalize the whole shit. Now the government owns the gaming industry and runs it better. Microsoft can go fuck themselves, Sony can go fuck themselves, Valve especially can go fuck themselves. They just have to hand it over. And unfortunately, this doesn't mean that somehow the people behind these companies magically lose their money. It just means that they're no longer in control of the means of production and can no longer dictate the next course of action with it. But it doesn't somehow take from them. The only way to do that would be to criminally persecute them and then fine them and shit. And if that's the route you want to go, by all means do it. I mean, these guys need to pay one way or another. I'm just saying personally that what's best for the gaming industry, what's best for us as people, and what's best for us as a community, and best for us as those who like to play games and who want to get into gaming, is to nationalize it. So, I guess that's it.